Resolute, a novel by Ken Brock, read by Sir Patrick Stewart. Fiction. Everything after this really happened. Chapter 1. His black boots crunched into the dark alley, sleigh hat bobbing to Christmas music only he could hear. It was late. José's breath jetted into the night as he shivered, shoving his hands tighter into the side pockets of the oversized red jacket, covering him to his knees. Under his left arm was a gift, wrapped in gold foil, tied with a black ribbon and bow. The card read, "There is no guarantee." He'd sprayed it with Holiday from Macy's at the mall, cinnamon pine spice. Images of Maria's happy surprise filled his imagination. Festive, José noticed the icy fog hanging in the midnight air coated everything it touched, transforming weathered wooden fences and sagging trash cans into a wintry wonderland. What a night, he thought. A long sagging roofline stretched over small back porches. Tired, coloured lights perforated the darkness, leading to the crossroads at Stables Court, where he was heading. On his left, a Christmas sleigh had slid off the roof towards the gutters. Its reindeer blinked erratically while their back legs stayed lit. On the next roof, an enormous, inflatable snowman leaned limply towards the alley. Its weak inflating fan was the only other sound in the cold, silent night. Bebopping through the darkness, José stared up at the ominous Frosty staring back. Suddenly, with a revving growl, a Rottweiler banged its entire weight against the other side of the fence next to him, loosening a board. The movement activated the house's security lights, bathing the alley in floodlight. José swept his hand to shade his eyes, knocking his earphones off. Sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good. Played thinly into the night. Oh, fuck! José stammered, stepping back. As he did, he tripped on a heap of trash behind him. José turned to orient and saw a bare human arm jutting from the pile. He thought its bloodied hand was grabbing for his ankle. Shrieking adrenaline-fueled vowels, José jumped the highest he ever would, dropping his gift and focusing on the attack. The Rottweiler slammed its paws back against the fence, punching at José's shrill on the other side, barking louder and fast to force the threat away. Up and down the alley, a swell of howls and barks began dogging the night. Thick, dark fluid oozed from under the frosted heap of coloured cans, newspaper, plastic bags, and what might have been leafy, green, thrown-out food. "Holy fuck!" José said. The arm was still and flaccid. José approached cautiously in slow half steps, alert for any movement of the bloody appendage. As he bent down for a better look, his breath fogged his sight, lowering his confidence. Something twitched in the pile, toppling it, revealing the badly beaten face and body of a thin, brown-skinned man on his back, wearing only loose-fitting pants. His twisted head lay in a halo of blood, while his outstretched arms exposed a gash under his left ribs. A slender wisp of pinkish mist rose from the man's mouth, above faint, wet, wheezy, gurgling sounds. "Oh!" José gasped, jerking upright. "What the fuck, man?" There was no change or response. "Hey! Yo! Dude! You scared me! A sup? Hey!" he shouted over the rioting dogs. "Dude! You okay?" The man was unconscious. José reached inside his jacket for his phone. The screen lit, displaying a smiling 13-year-old brown-skinned girl with long black hair, wearing a blue and orange cheerleader uniform with monarchs embroidered across the chest. On the screen's top, December 24th, 2019, 11:58 p.m., changed to 11:59 p.m., as the music stopped when 911 typed across her face. "911, what's your emergency?" the operator asked. "There's a guy all naked and beat up here. He's in trash, not breathing right, all bloody. He needs help," José stammered. "KO'd?" asked the operator. "He's out, not moving," José replied. "You have an unconscious man?" Yeah, no, look, I don't know, he's here. Looks oblit." "Oblit?" the operator inquired. "Obliterated." "What's your location, sir?" she asked. "I'm in Exeter, on East Jasper. It's the alley, by Wiseman," José blurted. "Okay, what's the address, sir?" Jose looked around, seeing no clues. There's no numbers. Can you tell me the nearest street? I told you, Wiseman. Wiseman Street, sir. This guy's bleeding. And a bunch of garbage. He looks thrown out. Jose moved the phone away from his ear, focused his camera app, and took a picture of the man. Hey, half-naked dude? Jose used his boot to touch the man's arm gently. No response. Faded, Jose said, returning to the call. Please hold, sir. I'll send some help. Stay where you are. Do not hang up. I'll be right back. The phone went silent. What? Hello? Hello? Fuck! He barked. Jose's hurried breath hung in the air, shrouding him. Looking around nervously, he imagined the dog on the other side of the fence, jumping over and attacking. Taking one step back, he watched the pounding fence boards. Glancing left then right, he noticed how pitch black it was on either side of him in the spotlight. Sir, the woman finally said. Yeah, I've alerted emergency responders. They're on their way. What's your name, please? What? Just send someone. Your name, please, sir. Jose was tempted to say his name. He was doing a good thing. At any other time, this could be a big deal for him. But he was being bad, out at midnight, in another town, and no one knew. His mom would slap, yell, then take his phone and game controller away and ground him. Finding a bloody, unconscious man in a dark alley would only freak her out more. I don't know this guy. He struggled to think of what to say. At my tears. A glass bottle bounced and rattled in the distance. Jose's voice trailed as he peered into the darkness outside his circle of light. The barks, howls, and growls faded from his attention. Going, he said in an almost imperceptible whisper. It dawned on him that moment that whoever did this might still be around. Was this gang? What would they do to him for getting in the way? Gabe at school had told him once that a guy trying to get jumped into a gang will sneak into your house while you're asleep and fuck you up. Extra bad, too, because he's trying to make a reputation. One time, he remembered, Gabe said, they messed a kid up so bad his whole family had to move. Jose stood slightly taller, mustering thin courage, then raised his voice to the alley. With my 12 uncles. Diaz, he added, shouting a fake name to throw them off the scent. I don't know nothing about this, he stated at his phone. Gagging, the unconscious man spewed thick, bubbly saliva. Ew! Jose repelled. Sir, responders will be right there. Stay where you are, the operator said in a soothing but commanding voice. Jose misheard what she said. Police! Look! He was already here. All messed up. Jose's eyes darted, looking for any motion or silhouettes in the creeping shadows. An ambulance siren sounded on and off several blocks away. Panic gripped him as he imagined he was between the police and a gang. Relax, sir. They're heading your way. The operator's voice rang, penetrating his agitation. Is anyone else there? Flashing lights partly turned, partly slid into the alley as the ambulance's braking tires slid over the iced road, coming to a stop before hitting a trash can. A man jumped out of the van and began clearing the way. Caller has hung up. The 911 operator's voice sounded over the speaker in the ambulance. Red, orange and yellow lights pulsed across the frozen asphalt and bare myrtle branches surrounding the alley entrance. The driver flipped on his high beams. 4 houses up lay a crumpled, motionless body in a pile of trash near a fence. One arm was outstretched towards a shiny gold and black box at the center of the macabre, kaleidoscopic scene. No one else was there. Copy that. We're first on scene, Maggie. Target in sight. Leaving vehicle to assess, radioed the driver before putting the van in park. Roger Corman was tall and thin, with short black hair. He'd been a driver with Angel Ambulance for the last 3 years. For the previous 8, he'd worked in Los Angeles until his divorce was final. Then, in Delano for a year until he couldn't stand the place, or people anymore. He was working graveyard Christmas Eve with a 6-month rookie who was gung-ho about being an EMT. Roger used to like being an EMT, but at 39, he didn't care anymore. He'd seen too many shootings, crashes, dismemberments, repeat drug overdoses, home drug lab fires, dead or dying children, and bloody, surreal scenes. Christmas Eve was supposed to be quiet. That's why he'd volunteered. That, the overtime, and a chance to get some warm sleep, avoiding holiday depression somewhere other than his cold, one-bedroom trailer. His partner, Tony, was a 22-year-old newlywed with medium-length, sandy blonde hair. He'd pulled the short stick to work Christmas Eve because he was the newest hire. Tony had recently finished his EMT certification and was trying to impress management with his knowledge of procedures and regulations by calling them out as he performed them. He'd turned down Roger's invitation to start celebrating with a shot of Salvation vodka around 10:30 p.m., citing Regulation 3.029A. No alcohol for at least 8 hours before duty or while on duty. Instead, Tony was wired on a pot of Folgers he'd finished out of boredom while eating 2 enormous pieces of fruitcake his wife had packed along with some lasagna for the evening. One of the desserts was for Roger, but Roger declined, opting for ice and a tumbler as his gift to himself. "Who likes fruitcake?" Roger smirked to himself, pouring a shot. "Oh, right. My ex." Roger was TV dozing when the call came in. "Exeter! Man down! Couple blocks away!" Tony announced, standing in the doorway of the small office used as a living room, putting on his company jacket. Hurriedly, he listed, "Unconscious, bleeding, trouble breathing. Probably drugs. Let's fly. You drive, I'll start ex-Nalumba and do the siren check." He left as quickly as he'd appeared. "Oh, shit. I was going to go drop a Yule log," Roger mumbled, kicking forward in the recliner, picking up his empty glass and bottle of Salvation. "Another joyful night in Bethlehem," he sighed. Roger appreciated his hip flask as he opened the driver's door in the alley. Tony had talked non-stop about some theory Santa Claus was a custom resulting from a red and white, hallucinogenic mushroom growing at the base of conifers in Siberia. Amanita muscaria. Caribou craved them. Centuries ago, shamans brought them to locals, arriving through the chimney when the homes were snowed in. "Red and white? Christmas trees? A magical man coming down the chimney? With gifts. Caribou are reindeer, man. Siberia is the North Pole. It makes total sense," Tony professed like he'd cracked the conspiracy. Roger snuck a sip, grimacing as Tony evaluated the body. The injured man was unresponsive. Tony yelled back without looking up, "Ho! We got a Mexican male. Looks early 30s, shallow breath, lots of abrasions. Got a 2-inch laceration below left ribs. Puncture wounds both palms. Don't know what code that is. Also, might be a dislocated right shoulder. That's a 402. Hypothermic. A 127. I need the neck brace. Blankets. Let's intubate. Stabilize and move." Yeah. "Cuts and blood and broken bones." "I hear you," Roger muttered, lifting the ambulance's microphone. "Maggie, this is Corman." He paused, knowing what was next. "Use the right call sign." Tony interrupted, exasperated. "This stuff's recorded. That's from the boss. Rule GOD. I need this job. Need the gurney too. Pronto." Roger lowered the microphone, staring at his partner. Tony moved around the body, putting down then picking up his gear bag, changing the bag's orientation to keep his work area tidy. Roger shook his head, raising the mic. "Operator." He rolled his eyes. "Angel 1, transporting 1 male to Kauai ER. Corman, out." "Gurney," Tony shouted. "Let's wrap this." Yeah. Keep your stockings on." "I'm coming." "Pronto," Roger mumbled, pulling the gurney from the ambulance. "Jesus," he sighed.